The rain had started just before sunset, not the soft kind that gently washed the world clean, but the violent, cold kind that made the streets glisten like oil and the neon signs bleed across puddles. 16-year-old Lena Moore ran through that rain barefoot, clutching a torn backpack and a bruise darkening her cheek. Her hair clung to her face, her breath short and panicked. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Behind her, the muffled roar of a pickup engine echoed down the street. She knew that sound. Her stepdad's truck. "Lena!" His voice bellowed from somewhere in the dark. "You think you can run from me?" Her heart hammered in her chest. He was drunk again. He always was when he turned mean. She darted into an alley, her sneakers splashing through the muddy water. The smell of rain mixed with garbage burned her nose. For a moment, she pressed herself against a brick wall, shivering, listening. The truck passed by the alley. She exhaled, trembling. She couldn't go home. Couldn't go to her mom. Her mom wouldn't even believe her. The last time she tried to tell her, she'd been slapped and told, "Don't talk about your stepfather that way." So Lena kept running until her legs felt like lead. Streetlights blurred. Her stomach cramped from hunger. Her throat burned. She didn't even notice the sign of the place she stumbled into, a small roadside diner at the edge of town. The bell above the door jingled softly. Inside, the air was warm, filled with the scent of fried bacon and motor oil. The kind of place that stayed open for truckers and night owls. But tonight, there was a different crowd. Half a dozen bikers that scattered around, leather jackets, heavy boots, tattoos. Their laughter was loud, their presence intimidating. Lena froze. She didn't belong here. But outside, through the rain-streaked glass, she could see headlights turning down the street. Her stepdad was still looking for her. Panic surged. She scanned the diner. No back exit. No time. The waitress at the counter was chatting with someone, not paying attention. The booths were full. Her gaze landed on a corner table where a large man sat alone, a plate of fries in front of him, his jacket hanging on the chair. He had the look of someone you didn't mess with, broad shoulders, dark beard, tattoos curling down both arms. His expression was quiet, unreadable. Lena didn't think. She just dropped low and crawled under his table, pressing herself into the shadows between his boots. The man, Ryder, as everyone called him, froze mid-bite when he felt movement at his feet. He looked down. Two terrified eyes stared up at him from beneath the table. The girl's hands trembled. Her lips were pale. She didn't make a sound, just mouthed a single word. "Please." Before Ryder could react, the bell above the door jingled again, this time louder, harsher. Lena's heart nearly stopped. Her stepdad. He stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his jacket, his eyes scanning the room with an ugly mix of rage and liquor. "Anyone seen a girl?" 16, brown hair, black backpack, he barked. The diner went silent for a second. Even the jukebox hum seemed to fade. The waitress blinked uncertain. No, sir. Haven't seen anyone like that." Ryder's jaw tightened. He didn't move. The man stepped farther in, his boots leaving muddy prints. "She ran off. Thinks she can hide. She's my kid," he slurred. "If any of you saw her, you better speak up." Lena curled tighter under the table, pressing a hand over her mouth. She could smell the leather of Ryder's boots, the faint scent of motor oil and smoke. Ryder leaned back slightly, his hand casually sliding to the edge of his chair, hiding her completely from view. "No kid came in here," he said, his voice low but steady. The stepdad squinted at him. "You sure about that?" Ryder looked up, meeting his stare, the kind of look that could cut through a man's bravado in seconds. "Pretty sure." A long, tense silence followed. The man's eyes flicked around the room, searching. The other bikers had gone quiet, watching. Finally, with a grunt, he spat on the floor. "If you see her, tell her she's dead when I find her." He turned and stormed back out into the rain. The bell jingled again, fading with the sound of the truck roaring away. Only when the headlights disappeared did Ryder exhale slowly. Then, without looking down, he muttered, "You can come out now." Lena hesitated. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she crawled out, her hair sticking to her face, clothes soaked. She looked like a ghost, small, shaking, exhausted. Ryder studied her quietly. "Who was that?" She swallowed. "My stepdad." Ryder's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, a dark understanding. "You got somewhere to go?" he asked. She shook her head. He nodded toward the counter. "Sit down. Eat something." I don't have money." "I didn't ask if you did," he said simply. The waitress came over, giving Ryder a curious look. "She with you?" "Yeah," he said without hesitation. "Family." The waitress smiled faintly. "All right then, sweetheart. What do you have?" Lena hesitated. Her voice was barely audible. "Anything warm." A few minutes later, a steaming bowl of soup sat in front of her. She clutched the spoon with trembling hands. Her first sip made her eyes well up. She hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. Ryder sat across from her in silence, watching. He didn't ask questions right away. He knew that look. The way someone's eyes darted toward the door every few seconds. The way their shoulders stayed tense no matter how warm the room was. Finally, he spoke. "He hit you, didn't he?" Lena froze, staring down at her bowl. Ryder sighed, leaning back. "You don't gotta answer. I've seen that look before." She looked up confused. He tapped the side of his neck, where an old scar ran along his jawline. "Grew up with someone like that, too." For a moment, neither of them said anything. The sound of rain against the windows filled the silence. Outside, the storm hadn't eased. The world felt small, just the diner's warm light and the thunder rolling in the distance. After finishing her soup, Lena whispered, "Thank you for not saying anything when he came in." Ryder nodded once. "Ain't no man got a right to scare a kid like that." She looked at him, really looked. Beneath the rough exterior, there was something steady about him, a kind of calm strength she hadn't seen in a long time. But peace never lasted long in her life, because less than 20 minutes later, the sound of that same pickup engine returned. The sound of the truck outside sliced through the diner's warmth like a blade. Lena froze mid-breath. The spoon slipped from her trembling hand, clinking against the bowl. Her eyes darted toward the window. Rain streaked the glass, blurring the headlights. But she knew that engines growled too well. Her stepdad was back. Ryder noticed immediately. He didn't look outside, but the subtle shift in Lena's posture told him everything. The girl was on the verge of panic again. He rose slowly, his chair scraping the floor, and said quietly, "Stay here." Lena grabbed his sleeve. "Please, he'll hurt you." Ryder glanced down at her hand, then back up, calm but firm. Not the first time someone's tried. Before she could protest, he turned toward the door. The bell above it jingled again, louder, harsher, and the man stumbled back inside, soaked and furious. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair plastered to his forehead. He wasn't looking for a conversation this time. "She's here," he growled, his voice slurred with rage. "I know she's here." Ryder didn't move from where he stood. His expression was cold, unreadable. "Buddy," he said evenly, "you need to turn around and walk out before you make a mistake." The man's lip curled. "Don't tell me what to do. That girl's mine. She's got my name, my roof, and she'll damn well come home when I say so." A few of the bikers at the other tables shifted in their seats. One of them, a tall guy with a skull on his jacket, muttered, "You hearing this, Ryder?" Ryder didn't take his eyes off the man. "Yeah, I'm hearing it." The stepdad sneered, stepping closer, dripping water onto the floor. "You think you can hide her? You don't know who you're messing with." Ryder gave a short, humorless chuckle. "I don't need to know. You already told me enough." The man shoved him, hard. "Move." The diner went still. The waitress froze behind the counter, one hand covering her mouth. Ryder didn't stumble. He didn't even blink. He just looked at the man with that same calm stare, the kind that made you realize too late you'd picked the wrong fight. Then quietly he said, "You just made your last mistake tonight." Before the man could react, Ryder's hand shot up, gripping his wrist and twisting it behind his back with a practiced, efficient motion. The drunk yelped, his face slamming against the counter. Lena gasped. Ryder leaned in close to the man's ear. "You touch her again, you'll be eating through a straw for the next 6 months." You understand me? The stepdad struggled, red-faced. She's my kid. Ryder's voice dropped even lower. No, she's a kid. That's the difference. Then he shoved the man away. The stepdad stumbled, clutching his arm, rage and humiliation warring across his face. You'll regret this, he spat. Ryder pointed toward the door. Get out! For a moment, it looked like the man might swing at him again, but something in Ryder's eyes stopped him cold. With a growl, he turned and stormed out into the rain. The bell jingled once, then silence. The other bikers exchanged glances. One of them, grinning, said, Still got it, huh, boss? Ryder just sighed and rubbed his neck. I'm too old for this. Then he turned back to Lena. She sat there, pale and wide-eyed, unsure whether to cry or run. It's okay, he said softly, crouching beside her. He's gone. Her lip trembled. He'll come back. He always does. Ryder shook his head. Not this time. They stayed until the diner closed. The rain eased into a drizzle, and the night stretched quiet and heavy. Lena sat at the counter, sipping hot cocoa the waitress insisted she take. She hadn't stopped glancing toward the window, half expecting the truck to reappear. Ryder leaned against the wall, arms crossed, deep in thought. He knew the type. Men like that didn't stop because someone told them to. They stopped when someone made them. When the last customer left, the waitress walked over. She's too scared to go back out there, she whispered. Ryder nodded. Yeah, I figured. She can stay a while if you need, but the waitress hesitated. You can get the cops involved? He glanced toward Lena. She was small, fragile. Her shoulders hunched like someone who had spent too long making herself invisible. He knew what the system did to kids like her. I'll handle it, he said quietly. By midnight, the diner lights dimmed, and Ryder's bike was the only sound cutting through the empty highway. Lena sat behind him, clutching his jacket. The wind whipped through her hair. For the first time in hours, she felt something close to peace, the kind that came from distance. They rode until the city lights disappeared behind them. When they stopped, it was outside a cluster of low buildings marked with the logo of a motorcycle club, Iron Saints. The place looked rough, but the air was alive with warmth and laughter. Inside, a fire burned in a steel drum, music thumped low, and half a dozen men nodded when Ryder walked in. Boss. One greeted, Who's the kid? Ryder simply said, Someone who needs a safe place for a while. No one asked more questions. They didn't need to. He led her upstairs to a small room, a spare space with a bed, a heater, and a window that overlooked the woods. It's not much, he said, setting down her backpack. But no one's going to find you here. Lena looked around, blinking. Why are you helping me? Ryder hesitated. Then he sat down across from her. Because someone helped me once when I didn't think I deserved it. She frowned. You. He gave a small smile. Yeah, I wasn't always on the right side of things. I used to be angry, dangerous. But one night, some stranger decided I was worth saving. Changed everything. Lena looked down at her hands. I don't think anyone's ever thought that about me. Ryder's voice softened. Then they're wrong. The next morning, she woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. Ryder was downstairs, fixing breakfast while talking to one of his club members, a woman named Tess, who handled most of the logistics. When Lena came down, Tess smiled kindly. He told me what happened. Don't worry, sweetheart. Nobody's going to touch you here. But the peace didn't last long, because later that afternoon, 2 police cruisers pulled up outside the compound. Lena's heart stopped. Ryder stepped outside to meet them. Afternoon, officers, he said calmly. The taller one held up a photo. We're looking for this girl. Report says she ran away from home last night. Ryder crossed his arms. That's so. Her stepfather says she's in danger. Claims she was taken by someone on a motorcycle. Ryder didn't flinch. You mean the same man who stormed into a diner drunk, threatening to kill her in front of witnesses? The officer blinked. You got witnesses? Ryder nodded toward the window, where the waitress stood inside, watching. Plenty. The second officer glanced at the first, uncertain. Sir, if what you're saying is true, this is a domestic abuse case. We'll need to talk to the girl. Ryder nodded. You'll talk to her, but not with him anywhere near. They agreed. Within an hour, Lena sat in the clubhouse office, telling her story, her voice shaking at first, then growing steadier as she spoke. The officers listened, exchanged looks, and took notes. When it was over, one of them said quietly, We'll make sure he's handled. You're safe now. Lena looked at Ryder. Really? He nodded. Really? Days passed. The stepdad was arrested on multiple charges. Her mother finally came forward, tearful, broken, realizing too late what she'd ignored. But Lena didn't want to go back home. Not yet. So she stayed at the club for a while. She helped in the kitchen, fed the stray dogs that hung around, and slowly, the haunted look in her eyes began to fade. The bikers treated her like family, loud, rough, protective. They taught her how to fix a bike chain, how to stand her ground, how to never let fear silence her again. One night, sitting by the fire, she looked at Ryder and said softly, You didn't just save me, you gave me something back. He tilted his head. What's that? She smiled. The first real smile he'd seen from her. A reason to trust someone again. He looked away, hiding his own smile. Good. You hang on to that. Months later, the diner reopened under new management. Lena went back one evening, this time walking to the door without fear. The waitress recognized her instantly and hugged her tight. You look different, she said. I feel different, Lena replied. Through the window, she saw Ryder's bike parked by the curb, waiting. The world outside still had storms, still had men like her stepdad. But Lena wasn't a scared girl hiding under tables anymore. She was stronger now, and every time she heard the roar of a motorcycle, she didn't think of danger. She thought of the night a stranger decided she was worth saving, and that changed everything.